Fed cut 50 basis point rate. It was almost like that Gabriel Garcia book where the death foretold kind of a thing where the whole world was waiting for that to happen. And Fed has cut 50 basis point and it's expected that in next 24 months there will be series of cuts and it has implications on the global economy. Apart from that, you would have seen that, 10 days back, the oil prices crashed, which is good news for India. But it also tells us that there is severe global headwind when it comes to growth. There is also dollar, weakening. So all these parameters together, Dr. Nageswaran, how do you see the global economy panning out and its impact on the Indian growth story in FY25 and 26, at least the immediate future?
Oh, I think to answer this one question, we would probably need 260 minutes rather than 26 minutes that we have, because you have packed a lot into this one question, and there are too many moving parts, and it will be presumptuous on my part to try and see or talk about the net impact on the world economy. I think because the Fed rate cut is not the only thing that matters. We have geopolitical conflicts everywhere, and there is an all-important election that is coming up in the US in November. And in general, the global economy has been slowing. The trend growth has been coming down. If you look at the IMF's World Economic Outlook forecast, and it will be revised again in October, they predict a 2% steady state growth for the world for advanced economies in the coming years. Yes, the rate cut by the Federal Reserve was much awaited, but I mean one can also discuss whether whether things should be that way, that the interest rate cut of 50 basis points should really be something that all of us should be hanging on to. So I think it will have different implications depending on how much of it's already been priced in. But I think much of it was priced in already.
Yes.
So in that sense, the interest rate curves have moved ahead of the Fed action. Yeah. The stock markets had moved ahead of the Fed action. In fact, as it turned out yesterday in the US markets, by the rumor, sell the fact kind of thing happened. The indices ended up on the red for the day. So I think it's very difficult, therefore, to say whether the rate cut per se would be a fillip to the global economy, because other things don't remain the same. Other things are not held constant. If everything else stays constant, then the rate cut by itself should be a positive because it lowers the dollar cost of capital, increases dollar liquidity in the world, and many countries, developing countries that were affected by the tightening interest rates in the US between 2022 and 2023 will be relieved to see more dollar liquidity that happens. So from that perspective, it should be a positive. But as I said, to be able to come up with a sort of a net impact statement, one has to assess a lot of moving parts, and we don't have the time for it. But I think on balance, I would say it is positive for emerging economies. And for India, especially if you look at the stock market, because it is already attracting a lot of investor interest. And it has been so for the last several years, whether it is foreign or domestic or both. Maybe at the margin, the impact will be relatively limited because it is not something that was waiting for this to happen. Investor interest for India was not waiting for this to happen. It's been there. So that is why the impact on India might be relatively more muted than in other places.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.